So this is the iPhone SE, and it was an incredible value when it launched about 4 years ago already. And I'm really shocked that Apple didn't bring the iPhone SE out sooner and upgrade. We should see one in just about the end of this month, actually, being announced. But just, an incredible value. Let me explain in this video where I stand on SE in March of 2024 years later, but also kind of how I now use this device because I actually still do have it in rotation. And let's begin with design because Apple decided to go ahead and keep their iPhone 5 design here for iPhone SE. And that wasn't really a bad thing because the attention of detail to the iPhone 5 was incredible. It had some chipping issues, but with the iPhone 5S, we had chamfered edges, which could get scratched up. But here we got the matte edges on the sides and also just very nice aluminum body here. Even though this wasn't stainless steel or anything like that, the iPhone SE never felt like a cheap device. And you can see right here, this is held up very well. These matte edges right here, the chamfered edges would get really scratched up for the iPhone 5S, and also on the iPhone 5, very chipped up that phone would get. This phone was a very nice durability over my time using it. And in March 2020, I'm happy to report that the iPhone SE has been an incredible value when it comes to just its durability. It's been pretty good. As long as you throw a screen protector on there, you should have been fine with this phone. And so with all these camera bumps these days, you can see just the camera being flush in the body of this phone was absolutely just adorable. We just really loved this because you could place the phone on a table without any, scratching of a camera lens or anything like that, or the phone rocking. It would sit flat on a table. And I will say grip was not bad on this phone because of these squared edges. It felt like more secure than a slippery, curvier phone that was less, squared off. And while these bezels do look ridiculous now in 2020, at least it served an important feature in Touch ID. And this Touch ID wasn't the second gen, but it was really hard to tell the difference. However, if you did go with the black edition, at least they kind of blended in with the body. I think the white iPhone SE shows the bezels a little bit more. And when I was playing a game, I did like using the iPhone SE like this to hold on to it, even though it's kind of ridiculous now. I mean, we have much better all screen displays, but at the time, it was really nice to just have something to grip onto here when playing game. And just overall, this design, I just look at it. I mean, can you really hate on this design? It's really a good looking device. Even now in 2020, I have seen numerous phones come out, and I still think this is a pretty phone right here. It's nice and small, it's squared off, the camera's flush, everything looks clean and classy here for the iPhone SE. It's still a very good looking phone. And so you also got a good value here when it comes to display. This display to me is akin to something like iPhone 11, iPhone XR, a similar resolution and a similar pixels per inch. Now iPhone XR and iPhone 11 did, I think, look a little bit more contrasty, a little bit better. But overall, the iPhone SE for its time was an incredible value. And honestly, looking at an iPhone SE today, it still looks good. There's nothing wrong with this display now. Yes, it's not OLED. It doesn't have the punchy colors, but it's still, you can still see it in sunlight pretty well. It's got good brightness and it's got good color reproduction and good viewing angles with the IPS panel. Now for me, because I'm lucky enough to have iPhone SE as a second phone, this phone actually operates as my detox phone. And what I mean by that is I use iPhone SE now to kind of, detox from social media, get a little bit of a break and clear my mind. And so you can see I don't really have a lot of apps on this phone, hardly any, because that's the intentions of this device, is to just go ahead and use it kind of just as a text messaging, internet communicator, a phone, kind of what Steve Jobs was saying when the iPhone first came out. That's kind of how I like to use this phone right now. And it really does feel relaxing to use something small like this. It's not like overbearing and distracting and just overwhelming and in your face all day, super large display. You always want to look at it and read it. So iPhone SE for me now in 2020 is a detox phone, and I do have an active SIM in here that I am using right now with this device for the days I need to clear my mind. But overall, the display was an incredible value. I think for the money, in terms of the resolution, sharpness, clarity, things like that, it was an incredible value. And one of the best things about the iPhone SE is just kind of how easy it is to type one hand. Hey, how are you doing? So I mean, just incredibly simple. And with the swipe texting that came in iOS 13, giving this phone a more modern, up-to-date feel, giving you swipe texting made it even easier to use iPhone SE with one hand. So the ultimate king of one-handed mobility is the iPhone SE even now. It's funny to say that because this phone is not even officially for sale anymore, but I haven't found one phone. I tried it with the Xperia Compact, and it's also really great for one hand, but this one is still to me the king of the small phone to use with one hand. And software. Now, software on the SE is up to date. Now, how many Android phones are up to date now that came out in 2016? I will wait. Actually, I'll be back. Let me know when you find out, because there's not many. Maybe OnePlus, maybe a Pixel here and there, but not many phones on the Android side are updated, especially at the price of $399. You name me an Android phone that was $399 or in this budget range that is still getting updated now. Again, I will wait. This phone has some great software. Still, it's the same software you're getting on iPhone 8 Plus, iPhone 10, iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro. You're just not getting a couple of those camera differences. And yeah, you got to swipe from the bottom instead of from the top because there's no gestures on here. And while that is a fun thing to try out, I think if you've never tried the gestures, you should. You can go back and forth between these and the core experience is still identical. Even get dark mode on this phone, and even because it's LCD doesn't mean dark mode isn't effective. It's still effective on this device. You can also now hold down and kind of have like a 3D touch like feature, which was kind of a con of this phone when comparing it to the 6S back in the day, but now you can just long press and you can go to the shortcuts here now on iPhone SE. So I think the SE is actually funner to use now than it was when it first came out because it's on the newer software with a lot more improved features. And another reason why the SE remained one of the best values ever, I think, from Apple is because of that A9 chip inside. Now, at the time, it was kind of boring to hear Apple every year, oh, we're making a faster chip and a faster chip. And we knew that iPhones would last a long time, but I don't think we knew the impact of the Apple A9 CPU. This was a huge update for the company, and now we do have an SE 4 years later that still performs very well. I mean, this phone is still fast. The iPhone 5S at this same point was so slow, it was almost unbearable. I could not deal with the 5S anymore. And I was a little bit afraid, this being the same body, it's going to be performing like that after, 4 to 5 years. But I'm happy to report I would be wrong and just not telling the truth if I told you this phone was slow, because it's absolutely not. Now, one area where iPhone SE actually has gotten a little bit worse is the battery. It's just basic physics. You're not going to get a battery in a phone like this size. It's going to be super large, but you could just use a battery case and be fine with this one. You can get through a day, just throw a Mophie on there, and they're super cheap to get one of those now. But battery life, for me, if you use it like a detox phone, like minimalistic, you barely use it, text messaging and calling, this will get through the day, trust me. But if you are using this phone like gaming, social media, like you would use a big phone, like all day heavy, you better be ready to be at the charger 3 to 4 times a day, because this one's not playing around. 2 hours or so and it's done if you're going hard on this phone. So don't think an SE is going to last you a full day going hard. It's just not going to do it. And one area where the iPhone SE has also become an incredible value was the camera. Now, while it ain't great at this time, if you do have good lighting, good daylight, you can get some incredible results with this phone. Dynamic range is not fantastic, but I think for what you use a smartphone for, the SE was fine. Opening up the camera, you can fire up a picture really quick. You can see that the sun's coming in and we do get lens flare. There's no lens hood on this type of phone, and any phone basically, so that can happen on any device when sun's peeking through. But you can see very fast. It can snap through bursts. You got video, panoramic. It can do 4K video. And the front-facing camera wasn't the best. It was actually pretty bad. But you can just take a photo with the back camera for selfie, and it was pretty darn good. 12 megapixel eyesight on the back of there. This is an area where it's not the best anymore. It's not even close to the best, and many phones blow it away. But, considering that it still has 4K, considering it still takes good photos and good lighting, the SE has been and remained a good value. And so when the iPhone SE came out, what was great about it is that it had a headphone jack. So that made it a great value for this segment of the market, because a lot of people in this segment don't want to buy Bluetooth headphones. They just want to use what they had. At this point, Bluetooth headphones have become extremely cheap, and almost everyone probably has a pair, if not are about to buy a pair, because you can buy Bluetooth headphones from as low as $10 all the way up to, thousands of dollars if you want. And over here, You do have, you can see a speaker right here. This could go ahead and get covered up very easily. So the outside audio was pretty tinny, but it was still usable. It's not so bad, it's unusable, but it wasn't great. And while you don't have the best battery life on this phone, one excellent thing is that because you have a smaller battery, the SE actually charged relatively quickly, even though you only got like a 5-watt charger in the box. This phone didn't take that long to charge because the battery is just physically not that large. And so the phone call quality, actually, I like it. It's not bad here on the SE. It actually has pretty good reception, and phone call quality is pretty good. I haven't had many drop calls on this device, and it feels pretty normal to put this up to your face just because it's not a super large phablet phone you're holding. And at an original MSRP of $399, this throwback device just feels classic at this point. And if it had slow performance, I wouldn't even make this video. But because this phone performs so well, it's still being updated. Hopefully it gets iOS 14. This device has held on and has gone the distance. And because it's so unique in its size at this point, it wasn't unique when the 5 and the 5S and when it first came out because those phones were still very much in circulation. But now, I think a lot of people miss this. And it's no reason why Apple is going to finally bring something similar to this back. And so that wraps it up with the iPhone SE. And for those of you who are wondering, like, Nick, bro, how many times have you covered this phone? What are you doing? Well, the reason I'm covering this phone is because I have actually been detoxing with this device, and I just wanted to talk about it one more time before the SE2 does launch. Now, the SE2, I do plan on comparing this to this phone, and believe it or not, there are some people out there who are still looking for a bargain SE. I mean, you could go on eBay, and there's still people selling them. They're like $90, $100, and I get comments every day, hey, my SE's coming tomorrow, my SE's coming Saturday. As a matter of fact, I would almost bet that somebody's going to write in the comments, I just ordered an SE today. So it's funny, this phone is still actually being bought, and even though it's not necessarily easy to find when it comes to at a retailer, you're just not going to find it. This phone is pretty much on the used market only. So anyway, that's it for me. What I want to know from you is, how has the SE been for you over the span of time that you've owned it? Are you still holding onto this phone as a side phone, kind of like I do for like when you just want to use a smaller device for a day or two? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video, and I will have S20 content coming for those of you interested in that very shortly. It's actually coming this week, so be subscribed and stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.